Welcome to your Barbados Today Evening News Update for Wednesday, June 24th. After intense questioning by police on Tuesday, former CLICO chairman Leroy Parris was formally charged this morning for a number of offences relating to his dealings at CLICO International Life Insurance Limited, which collapsed in 2009. More in this report from our Kobe Brooms.
Former CLICO chairman Leroy Parris was granted $1.5 million in bail after appearing in the District A Magistrates Court this morning on multiple charges including theft, fraud and money laundering. 75-year-old Parris of number 8 Darrell's Heights, St. Michael, is accused of stealing 3.3 million Barbados dollars belonging to CLICO International Life Insurance Limited between December 1, 2008 and April 27, 2009. It is further alleged that during that period he conspired with others to defraud CLICO International Life Insurance Limited of this same amount by inducing the insurance company to pay out the money to Thompson and Associates. Parris is also charged that between April 1, 2009 and March 31, 2010, he conspired with others to cheat the Crown and the Commissioner of Inland Revenue of Public Revenue by failing to submit tax returns to the Commissioner or account to the said Commissioner for the taxes of his income for the year ending March 31, 2010. The fourth charge states that between December 1, 2008 and April 27, 2009, Parris engaged in money laundering, where he concealed Barbados $3.3 million, the proceeds of crime. The matters are indictable and Parris was not required to plead before Magistrate Christy Coffin Sargent. With no objections from the prosecutor, he was granted bail with two sureties. He was represented by attorneys at law Hal Gov't QC, Michael Yearwood QC, Michael Lashley QC, and Neil Marshall. Parris was ordered to surrender his travel documents, which was done, and he must also report to the Glebe police station every Monday and Friday before noon with valid identification. He will make his next court appearance on November 19th.
Staying with news from the law course, a teenager was remanded to Dodge on two murder charges today. 18-year-old Shane Wesley Dawson of 5th Avenue, Piddicans Land, Bank Hall, St. Michael, is accused of murdering Marlon Holder on January 16, just outside the entrance of the St. Albans Primary School at Weston St. James. It is also alleged that Dawson murdered Rondell Alexander on December 13, 2019. He is also facing several other criminal charges, including endangering life, possession of a gun and ammunition, as well as criminal damage. In other news this Monday, Education Minister Cynthia Bradshaw today cleared the air on a decision to allow students to remove their mask in the classroom while they're seated 6 feet apart. The Barbados Secondary Teachers Union has objected to the move in a letter to the ministry, saying unions were not consulted on the matter. But today Bradshaw said it was not a unilateral decision. She explained that after persistent complaints from students, teachers and parents about the wearing of masks at schools, the ministry consulted public health authorities who recommended the new policy.
We had no choice but to change it because from a public health perspective, which throughout the entire COVID-19 pandemic we have had to be guided by, public health officials said you can remove it. If you think about even our social partnership meetings, we have actually had reduced restrictions even in terms of our gatherings. So you have increased capacity in terms of numbers being able to meet, but you also have a situation where public health has now said obviously if you are sat next to each other, you're 3 feet apart and you're wearing a mask, it's not a problem, or you can remove the mask once there is enough physical distancing and the persons on either side are wearing masks. So the period now is not the same period that we were in 4 weeks ago. We have had 4 weeks of no positive cases, and public health obviously has made changes based on where we are in terms of our response as to the public health emergency of COVID-19. So I'm not too sure if the concern is that we didn't come back to them, but I think in all fairness, I think that while we have consulted and we agree that there should be PPE, we have continued to use the PPE. What we have said though is that there's a genuine concern as it relates to our students and coming into the classroom and having to wear these masks for an extended period of time.
Bradshaw says students sitting in the common entrance exam will be allowed to take off their masks.
They're coming into the classroom, they're going to be sitting down, they're not going to be talking. So I think that we want to make the environment for the examination too as comfortable as possible. We want to give the students as practical a scenario as possible so that they can feel comfortable when they actually sit the exam. But public health has really guided this process, and I'm really grateful to the public health officials for being able to be responsive to the concerns that were expressed by all of our stakeholders. And I think it's important to make the point that our stakeholders are not just the unions. Our stakeholders are our teachers, our unions, it's our public health officials, it's our parents, and it is our children. So there's no one body or entity that has the final say in the decision making.
The public health emergency has been extended until August 31. Late Tuesday night, lawmakers approved a resolution tabled by Health and Wellness Minister Lieutenant Colonel Jeffrey Bostic. Bostic, who says the country has not recorded any local transmission of COVID-19 cases for about a month, is on the right track, but it cannot relax its efforts. He noted that with the Americas now deemed the epicenter of the coronavirus, government must ensure it's ready to handle any eventuality.
That as long as the situation continues, not only globally, but in the Americas, and when we consider the fact that although Europe is kind of leveling off at the moment, but still the UK with 306,000 cases, our source markets and the areas of the world, Europe and the Americas, Canada, United States, where we get our direct flights, we still have to be extremely vigilant. And that is why we are seeking to extend that public health emergency.
Senators today approved changes to the Public Transport Miscellaneous Bill. The new regulations give route taxi and minibus drivers a new 3 strikes rule as authorities attempt to clean up public transport. PSV operators who contravene any part of the regulation face a fine of possibly $1,000, another fine for a second offense, and forfeiture of the operator's permit or driver's license on the 3rd conviction. Government Senator Rudolph Greenidge believes the changes will help to improve operations.
There are so many ZR drivers now who have long sheets of convictions, sometimes over 100 fines have been imposed on a singular fellow. That has been happening in this sector. And they pay the fines. They pay the fines. And yet they do the same thing over and over again. And that is where the problem is. They can handle the fines. Let us take away their tools of trade. Let us take that license from them and see what the outcome will be.
Opposition Senator Caswell Franklin also endorsed the bill, insisting it was needed to put a stop to reckless behavior on the roads.
These people are a law unto themselves, a behavior as they like, and you think the transport, if one of the staff members who call out the buses and tell the bus to come to an organization knows that the Bushall van is coming there, the heads know too. Fix it. I don't want to go into the myriad of complaints that you hear about the sector, because these are widespread and notorious. Everybody knows about them. And as I said, I wish the government good luck in regulating this thing, because they are dangerous.
There's regional and international news after this short break.
Barbados Today, news you can trust.
To regional news, the CARICOM chairman is dismayed at unfolding developments in Guyana, where authorities have still not declared the results of the March 2 regional and general elections. In the latest twist, the Caribbean Court of Justice is preparing to hear an appeal on the question of valid votes after the chief elections officer presented a report on the results, which shows that he has taken away 115,000 votes that he considers not valid and credible based on guidance by the Guyana Court of Appeal. But Prime Minister Mia Mottley maintains this is unacceptable. On the international front, the International Monetary Fund has slashed its global economic forecast for 2020, saying the coronavirus pandemic is causing a much steeper recession and a slower recovery than initially expected. The organization said today that it thinks global GDP will contract by 4.9% this year, downgrading its estimate from April when output was forecast to 3%.
In 2009, world output contracted by just 0.6%. So I think synchronized is crucial here. When you see this kind of number for the world, you know that every economy is being impacted by this, but not every economy is being impacted the same. I think we can look at the situation for some different countries. The US, for example, set to contract 8% this year, but rebound 4.5% next year. Euro area, similarly deep contraction this year, followed by a rebound next year. Mexico, one of the worst hit at the moment. Latin America, of course, is one of the epicenters. That is set to contract 10.5% this year, but only rebound some 3% next year. China, though, interesting because we did see a lot of the restrictions lifted towards the end of the first quarter, is set to grow 1% this year and up to 8.2% next year, which is a growth rate that we haven't seen in a while in China. So that is something to watch going forward.
That's news, but for the very latest, visit our website at www.barbadostoday.bb. You can also subscribe to our e-paper, email updates, or like us on Facebook, and sign up for our breaking news alerts via WhatsApp. We're also on Izumi Media and bus terminals, as well as screenplay at supermarkets and gas stations near you. You can also hear us on Mix 96.9 FM and Capital Media HD 99.3 FM.